I've just got a new email saying that my camera is ready for pickup. Come pick up my camera with me. I've been going on back and forth on whether or not I should upgrade to the A7Cii II because I clearly have the A7 III and the X100V. But because of all the traveling that I'm doing, I had to make a choice on downsizing the amount of gear that I have. I made the hard decision to sell my A7 III and my X100V and get the A7Cii II because it's basically a combination of both. It's such a pretty walk here. I actually can't wait. I've not been excited about photography in a really long time, but I bought a 40mm 2.5 lens with it and I brought along my 85 1.8. So I'm gonna have two focal lengths to play with and that is pretty exciting. It's honestly so sunny. I don't know what to do. I've not seen the sun like that in a really long time. Alright, we're now sat down. Let's unbox the lens first. I hope it's not too loud in my background. I'm in a cafe right now. It's really cute. There she is. So because it was Black Friday, I actually got 300 off my entire purchase, which was great savings. I'll take it. Now for the main event. I don't know if this lighting is weird because there's like one of those circle things. What do you call those? But anyways, the main event. Initially, this came as a kit with a lens inside, but I don't want the kit lens because I bought the 42.5. They took out the lens. There she is. Before I get into this, I left my Peak Design bottom screw thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I left it on my A7 III, so I'm gonna have to wait a few more weeks before I can get that back. So I might just use the strap. Oh no, that was really loud. I might just have to use the strap that came with the camera. It's not the end of the world. Rather my camera's safe. But anyways, enough yapping. Let's get into it. There she is! Gorgeous! I was going to buy a screen protector as well. They didn't have any. And I'm usually buying everything on Amazon because I can trust that it comes. But because this is a foreign country, I'm a little bit nervous to buy online. I don't know why. No, it's exposed. It's exposed. Okay, quick. Line it up. And close. There's nothing to grip. There you go. Beautiful. It's so light. I'm actually in love. And for some people, they're saying that grip's a little bit small, which I kind of get. My pinky's falling off a little bit, but this is how I'm holding everything in place. And you can get like a small rig cage that just sits at the bottom, which would extend it a little bit more. Honestly, I'm not hating it. And when I had my X100V, I had to buy a little thumb grip just so that it wouldn't slide off. But the grip handle on this is actually quite deep. I feel like it fits just fine. You know what? I'm in love. And I never got this with my X100V because it was sold out at the point and I just bought a black one. But now I get the retro vintage look. There's no battery over there. Let's put the little battery on. I love the wrapping on these. It feels like tissue, but it's sturdy. It's like plastic tissue. It just feels nice, alright? Okay, so a big fail on my part. I forgot the SD card at home. So it's just sitting in my bag, so I can't take any pictures of this right now, but we can turn it on anyways. The little on switch is tilted that side. It's different from my A7 III that's tilted more that side. Feels a little bit weird, but you know what? We'll get used to it. It's alright. And you've got a pretty funny looking lens hood as well. I might buy the square ones, but this works for me. Not now. I understand it. Okay. Here. One. Little touch function. Okay. Oh, there she is. I'm gonna set up all my buttons on this and I'll show you what I've customized it to because, for example, right now the C1 is programmed to be white balance, but I would... it is a little bit different than my other camera. AF on, will be back button focus, but it feels more comfortable if the C1 is. Anyways, I need to learn about this and I will customize it and update you guys. So before I dive into showing you my camera settings, I've got to share something with you that's been a game changer for my editing process. Picking audio for my YouTube videos used to be my least favorite part. It felt impossible and there were too many choices and everything wasn't royalty free. It was such a hassle, but then I found Audiio. Audiio is a royalty-free platform made for creators and trusted by industry leaders. I've been using it for over a year now and their library of music and sound effects still blows me away. It's been a total game changer because I spend way less time searching for the perfect track and more time creating. Audiio makes it so easy. I can add specific playlists for each project, keeping everything organized, and I can search for audio based on feeling, beat, or mood to get the exact vibe I'm looking for. As a creative person, I'm not for all types of AI, but with Audiio, they've got this feature called Link Match, where you can pick a track you like. Let's say it's a popular song and just plug it in, and your AI will find similar tracks. I found it so handy and it saved me so much time. Whether you're making long-form content or short-form content, Audiio has you covered. I've linked it down below in the description for 70% off. Get it now and level up your edits. Okay, back to it. Okay, so I've spent the day now getting to know my new camera and I've set it up with all the settings that I like, and now I'm going to show you my favorite settings and why. I want to take a moment and thank all the YouTube videos out there that has gone through all the settings because you've explained everything so well. Thank you so much. I framed myself like this because I'm going to show you all my settings up here as well. And let's just dive into it. If you're new here, I've been doing photography for about 10 years now, and that's when I actually found my love for camera gear. So now when I look for cameras, I know that I need it to be full frame and I wanted a good hybrid camera, and the A7Cii II does that really well. So you have this dial up here where you can pick between photo and video mode, and there's SNQ, which stands for slow and quick, I think, but I don't use that, so we're not going to touch on that today. We're just going to focus on photography and video. So let's do photo settings first. I've not added anything into my menu settings. I've just gotten the basics of what I need. Right now it just feels a bit overwhelming, so let's not customize that yet. Then you go on to main, and that gives you a quick overview of all your settings. Then now into shooting. So first of all, I have my file format to RAW. You can shoot on RAW and JPEG, but I like editing my pictures in Lightroom after. And I have custom presets down below if you want them. To me, editing is a craft as well, and I just enjoy it. So RAW basically gives you more information on the photo, and it can bring the highlights in the sky down to reveal the clouds and things like that. So I always shoot in RAW. Now for the RAW file type, I've gone with lossless compressed L. You can go with uncompressed or compressed, but basically, long story short, from all the YouTube videos, it says that lossless compressed is the best. It keeps the file size small in your camera on your SD card, but uncompresses it when you're editing. So just make sure that you have a computer that can handle it. Then I just skip through all the JPEGs because it's fine. And aspect ratio, you can shoot in other aspects, but I just left it at this. For video file format, we'll go through it when we go through the video options. For APS-C shooting, if you didn't know, you can basically tap a button and it crops into as if it's APS-C. And I'll go into that when we go through the customized buttons. Now for silent mode, I have that off. I do use it sometimes if I'm at an event and I need to be really quiet and I can still take shots. I can't explain it scientifically, but the images come out a little bit different and I try not to use it if I don't need to. So I just have that off. Okay, this one setting was doing my head in because why does my shutter speed have a decimal point? I couldn't figure it out and ChatGPT couldn't figure it out. I went on a deep dive into some forums and apparently all you need to do is go into the anti-flicker set, go to variations shutter and turn that off. And now you can see that it's 1/60. That's a win. Next, I have steady shot on. Don't know why. Figured that would give you a steadier image. and I turn my grid line display on and I have it as rule of thirds. You can turn on marker display, which I thought was kind of cool. So you can turn it on as like 16 by 9. So that's if you're filming something cinematic, for example, and you want it 16 by 9. It basically shows like the 2 black bars on your screen so you can frame it up a little bit better. So that's really handy. I tend to shoot in manual mode, so I don't really have like auto ISO and things like that. So that's fine. Exposure, metering, I leave all of that. And now into autofocus mode. I have continuous autofocus, and 10 years ago, if you were a photographer, you'd probably be using like a full frame DSLR. I was using a 5D Mark III, and I was taught that you needed a back button focus instead of just trying to focus with your little shutter button. I'll show you how I assign it in a bit, but I don't think I've changed too much here. I've just turned the AF illuminator off. Don't want that random red beam. And autofocus with shutter, turn that off because I'm using back button. All right, and focus area, there's so many different options to pick from, but I have center fix because I like back button focus and then frame in however I want to frame it. That makes me feel like I'm more in control rather than letting the camera pick what it wants to focus on. It just works for me, and I'm used to it. And subject recognition in autofocus, I have it on and I have it on human. There's like all sorts that you can pick from, so that's pretty fun. Focus assistance, I have that off. I don't really like the magnifier option. Peaking display on, high yellow, so that shows me what's focused. And for playback, I've left all of this as it is, and for network I've left it all as it is as well. And all right, now let's go into the custom settings. So we're still under photography right now, so I have my C1 button right here that's switching between APS-C and full frame. It just gives me an interesting crop in when I need it. I had that on my A7 III as well. And then we have the AF on, so that's for the back button autofocus, and I have it a little bit different on the video settings because I'll talk through that in a little bit. I can switch to silent mode from the C2 button, which is also the trash can. Like I said, sometimes you just need it and it's handy. And with these, I don't really play around with it because I can use the FN function for it, but I've just customized, that's what I've done. Now for the dials all around the camera, you have one in front, one at the back, and one as the main wheel. The first one I have, which is at the front of the camera, is my shutter speed, because I feel like that's just easy for me to go back and forth on. And the second would be my ISO, because those are the two main ones that I will be changing. I usually leave my aperture at the widest, so this is at 2.5 because it's the 40mm 2.5. That's the widest it goes. On my main wheel at the bottom, I just have that as the aperture, but I don't really play around with that. Okay, now let's go into the video settings. So when I shoot on video mode, I like to shoot at 24 frames per second, and your shutter speed, the rule would be that your shutter speed has to be 2 times your frames. So that means my shutter speed would have to be 1/50. The thing is, that doesn't really apply to photography because when you're out and about and you're running and gunning, it's going to change. When I was trying to set everything up, that was staying the same on both the modes, so I found that it is here. Under setup, you go back into operation customize, and it's right here, different set for still and movie. Now everything that you've checked would be independent on depending on which mode you're on. So I've just selected shutter speed, ISO, aperture, exposure composition, white balance, picture profile focus mode. I've left metering mode because I have no idea how to use that, to be honest. Now when I switch between the two options, it's as if you're using 2 different cameras, which I love. Now for the settings for a video, I have file format at XAVCH. For those of you who know me, I don't like shooting in 4K because of how big the file sizes are, and they just kind of scare me. But apparently HS stands for high storage, I think. And apparently that's the most efficient way to store the 4K files. It just uncompresses in your computer, so make sure that your computer can handle it. I have the M1 MacBook Pro, and so far it's been able to handle everything I've thrown at it. So you know what, should be fine. I'm not using this ever, I don't think, but the S-I 4K mode would be the largest 4K file. If you're color grading every tiny bit of it, you could probably use that, but I'm not gonna do that. Who knows, maybe I'm gonna try it, but for now I'm not. Movie settings, I'm shooting at 24 frames, so 24p, and for this I'm shooting at the highest, so 100 megabytes, I think is what it stands for. 422 10-bit, so that basically just means that it gives you the most information possible, and I'm hoping that we could get to a point where I don't feel so limited. So you know how I was talking about raw files for pictures? I like using raw because you have all this information that you can play around with. You can adjust all the individual colors a lot better. And for video, because we don't ever shoot in raw video files, unless you're using like a Red camera, I think, but I don't have that. And I just find that it's very limiting to be able to color grade in what I want, but at the same time that's probably my fault because I don't shoot on S-Log. But I'm gonna start trying, so that's what this camera is all about. We're experimenting now. So all of that, I don't do that. And APS-C shooting, again, I turn it off because I can always turn it back on with my C1. Flicker setting, again, off. But apparently for video, it might come in handy, and I know that I spoke about how I didn't like it. I didn't like my shutter speed in decimal points, but in video it might help if there's bright lights or screens. There's not going to be any of those flickering lines, which I'm just going to try it out without for now, and if it bothers me, I'm going to experiment with that a little bit more. We have time. Steady shot, I have it on standard. If you go up to active, I think it crops in a little bit more, because you can switch between them anyways. At the moment, I'm thinking I'm gonna go out into the city and get some still shots, so I don't really need that active of the stabilization, so it should be fine. So I'll just stay at standard for now, because I'm just gonna be standing there like this. Steady shot adjust, no idea what that means, but I will play around when the time comes. Marker displays, it's up to you. All of these I don't play with. Focus mode, I have it on manual focus, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So we have focus area, again, center fix, because I'm going to be hand holding my shots and I want to know where they're going to be. Obviously, you can also tap on the screen to focus on what you want to focus on, but I feel like I'll do that if I'm using a tripod. But for now, I just like to move. Subject recognition, same as photography. And peaking, same. All of these are the same, and now we're gonna go into the fun part, which is the custom buttons. So we're gonna go into the video custom buttons. Most of them I do follow what I have on my photography settings, but for example with my autofocus I have AF MF selector hold. If you tap into it, there's like quite a few different types of autofocus options, like settings that you can pick from. And I've tried a few, but I've picked this one. And with the combination of how video mode is in manual focus, it toggles that on. What it means is that it's basically on manual focus until you hold down that button that I've assigned it to. And then it focuses on what you want, and when you let go, it goes back into manual focus. So as you're taking a video, it doesn't lose focus and start focusing on other things. So for me, that was a big one. And for my FN menu settings for photography and video, I've not gone in to customize it a little bit too much. I thought that it had some decent options, so I've left it as it is. Again, record with shutter off because we have the dedicated button up here. And that's it so far. I'm gonna go out and actually try this out and see if I like all these settings. And I'll give you guys an updated video if I do change anything. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any tips for me. I'm always learning. Like, I'm always saying not to change any of my settings on my cameras because I just need it to do what I need it to do, and then I'm good. So, you know what? This is the year to learn more. Oh, my light just died.